So I'm really excited to be here with you this afternoon. I know that it's the end of the day, and you probably have heard all day long about digital media. You've heard about social media. You've heard about Facebook. You've heard about getting a job with social media. We've talked about all these things. And what I thought we could do today, at the end of the day, is talk about the digital impact on business. How many of you here are running a business, are thinking about running a business, or are using social media for your company's, someone else's business? Okay, great. So this is really relevant. What I thought we could do together today is not talk about the tools so much, but talk more about you know, not just what it is, but why we should care. We'll look at a couple of examples of how viral video can impact your brand if you're managing social media for a brand. We're going to talk about whether or not all of us in the room are really ready for the shift that digital media is making in our businesses. And then also a little case study that I ran the past couple of weeks. I wanted to talk to small business owners who are using social media. We know it works for large brands, and if you're running, if you've heard of, you know, Starbucks, if you've heard of, you know, all of these other companies out there, Ford Motor Car Company, any other big ones out there that we know off the top of our head. Yeah, Donato's, yeah. They're all leveraging social media and they're going viral for one reason or another, but what about the small fry? What about someone like me, someone like you who's running a smaller brand? And what if you are your brand? And what I wanted to do was talk to other folks that are like us, and I wanted to hear what they had to say about social media. Is it working? How much money are they spending? How much time are they spending? And what are some of the best practices we can learn from them? Because as you know, learning from others in your community is sort of how we cool ideas and get better at it. So let me back up for a moment and tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Tiffany Odutoye, and some people call me Tiffany O for short to make it easier for you. You don't have to remember how to say Odutoye. And I run a little digital practice, and my niche is really helping solopreneurs and micro business owners understand the tools and leverage the tools and create strategies and action plans for using social media. I'm a geeky girl with a business background, so I worked in corporate America for almost 19 years for companies like SmithKline Beecham, Arthur Andersen, Cigna Reinsurance Company, and Limited Brands. And so more recently, the past several years, I've been working as a solopreneur. I'm really excited about social media, and here's the reason why. When I started my business in 2003, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was working for Arthur Andersen for one of their clients at the time, the Nature Conservancy. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Well, they had started a new brand called NatureServe, and I was working with the board and with their CEO on that brand. And one day I went into the office of my girlfriend on Capitol Hill, and I had a concept. And I wanted to create a business for myself, doing what I was doing for those other companies, but I wanted to have more flexibility. I wanted a lifestyle business. And so I pitched my idea to her, and she said, oh my goodness, I need exactly that. And she hired me, and I started my business. As a matter of fact, I got my first two clients on Capitol Hill. One was a sign language interpreting agency, and one was an art gallery on Capitol Hill. And then I got the Carlisle Group. Well, I was doing really great till I moved to Ohio. So I moved to Ohio. Now, so mind you, I got my business started because I talked about a concept, right? I didn't write a marketing plan. I didn't write a business plan. And then one day, we moved here, and all of a sudden, I found I didn't have a business anymore, unless I was going to continue to fly back to Washington, D.C. to work with the Carlisle Group. And I wasn't going to work for my marriage very long. And that's when I realized that I needed to do something that we're all doing in this room today. I needed to have a social network, whether it's a live social network or whether it's an online network. And I realized I didn't have one of those, so my business failed miserably. And then when I restarted Virtual Partner and launched this segment, Talk Social Networking, I started social networking, and I created a little niche here in Columbus. And all of a sudden, I was just trying some of these online tools, and I was gaining traction. And it was really by accident, happenstance. That's how I discovered social media. It wasn't because someone said social media is the way to go, and I said, oh wow, I'm going to do it and I'm going to be great. No, I was just trying different things. And all of a sudden, my clients started finding me online. I stopped looking for people and they started finding me, and I thought, hey, this is really hot. I think I'll keep doing it. And so then I started putting together some of those tools, and I wrote a book about it. And I used that book in coaching and training with my clients. All right. So what is social media and why should we all care? I think we really know the answer to that. But one of the things that I say, and I think this is part of the conversation we can have about it, is this. It's really the modern day golf course. And if we as business owners can take some of the behaviors that we have in real life, forget the fact that we have a piece of equipment in front of us or that there is a network there. If we can translate some of those same behaviors like they do on the golf course in our online activities and chat rooms and all of that, I think we'll gain traction. And one of the things that I've observed after doing this survey is that the business owners who are establishing those same kind of connections and relationships, they're having success. And we'll look at some of the things that they're doing. See if I can go the right direction. So I think we know what social media is, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We know it's a connection of, tools and strategies. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's a participatory web. It's the internet on steroids, and not the it's not the old internet, but it is an interactive digital experience. And that's what social media has become. It's revolutionized the way we communicate, and it's a channel and an opportunity for customers to provide customer reviews and satisfaction. It's a way for us to edit what people are saying and to contribute to the conversation in a participatory way. If I can start going the right way. All right, so take a look at why we should care about it. And how many of you have heard of Dave Halifax? No? Oh, good. So we'll take a look at this video and see if we can launch it. Oh, you closed down my internet.
Hold down the control key and then click it.
Oh, I just love when I have smart people in the room with me. I'm holding and I'm clicking.
The right control key.
All right, so we're just gonna go to the internet and I'll put the thing in. I had it set up for you guys before we did this. Okay, so Dave Halifax had an experience with United Airlines. How many of you have heard of that?
Oh yeah.
All right. What was the theme of his campaign? And this is why it should really matter to all of us. What was it? Anybody remember the buzz? The theme of his campaign? United breaks guitar. And what was the story? Can someone tell us a story?
But he said that they broke his guitars when he got off or when he flew, and then made a big campaign about you don't want to fly on this airline because they break your guitar.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do anything. Yeah.
He had a whole song and YouTube music video and everything.
He did.
The race is on, and you can play with the amazing Race Around the World Wide Web game.
So here's the video, one of the videos that he made in an interview with him.
For a chance to win weekly prizes and free hotel stays for
I love this technology today. I promise I'm going to get better the next time. So you have to find. Let's see, I saved his video here under social media. United breaks guitars. Here we go.
Things seem 30% better when you say.
Do they have commercials for everything now?
Yeah.
Umbrellas.
Little umbrellas.
SPF, I'm in heaven.
I'm gonna be red as a lobster.
Save 30% on beach vacations at Travelocity.
It's go time.
We had to have a commercial moment.
Anyone who has ever been tipped off at an airline is going to absolutely relish this. Now, a musician whose expensive guitar was damaged by United Airlines baggage handlers and who was treated with cold indifference after he complained about it is getting his revenge big time in an online video that has become quite a hit. Take a look.
Just go and break it into 1,000 pieces, just like you broke my heart when United breaks guitar.
I love this video. I'll tell you one of the reasons why I love it. We'll look at some statistics after we hear what he has to say here.
Safe to say, thanks to United, your music career has really taken off.
Well, I got home last night and I downloaded 1,000 emails.
This is the
yes.
Did you ever expect, though, with coming up like a video like this, that it would be received as well as it has, and take off the way it has, part of the fun?
No, not at all. I put it up on Monday night, and when I went to bed, I had 6 hits.
When did this happen?
So this happened, this was in July of 2009. But I thought it was interesting when we looked at the number of hits on the website. I mean, many, many websites were created, and it's up into the millions. So he talked about his one night, I put it up and I got home and I had 1,000 hits. And then that thing went viral. And he fought with United for almost a year before he got resolution. And it wasn't until he did this song that he experienced something that we all relish in when a brand responds to our complaints and to our needs. He got resolution and he got satisfaction in saying, no thank you, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep with the second song and the third song, and I don't want your money, give it to charity. And I think this really illustrates the power of social media for all of us as business owners. It's an opportunity to really have the power of influence and to create a strong message. Media has changed so much today. Now, of course, with Dave Carroll, he leveraged his talent to be able to go ahead and, let's see if I can get this back open. Someone told me how to do it before, and
Down at the bottom of the window, little icon there.
why I love the Mac. So who would imagine that media would really have changed the way we make decisions about our business and how we influence others? How many of us remember the way cars and automobiles used to be? No? Who would have thought that today we have these slick machines, you know, like this one? And then the telecom industry changed. You know, we remember those. I remember when I was a kid, you had to dial. And now all of a sudden we have them in the palm of our hands. I was in a workshop just a few moments ago and someone had the iPad. You know, the way we communicate, every industry has shifted. Business has shifted. When I started working for SmithKline Beecham, you know, we had computers that were almost, printers that were almost half the size of this piece of equipment here. And of course, my desktop computer took up almost a whole desk. And now we have these slick iPads, laptops. Business has really shifted, and our consumer has shifted as well. How many of us go into a store, see something we like, take a picture, upload it? Or we go to a workshop, we hear something, we tweet it. Or if we don't like something, right, you go through a drive-thru in Wendy's and you decide you don't like it and you get on Yelp and you talk about it. Or you get on Foursquare and you talk about it. Consumers are very social. And as business owners, we have to think not about our customer today, but about our customer tomorrow. And I always say this, today's 62-year-old is not going to be tomorrow's 62-year-old. And retirement communities know this oh so well. They're building retirement communities now to attract to tomorrow's 62-year-old. The up-and-coming baby boomer, they're social too. And so as a business, we need to be. There's a gentleman that is a small business owner that participated in a case study with me. And I want you to just listen to what he has to say about how social media changed his business.
Whoever wants to follow me or know what's going on.
So you started off with Facebook.
Right, and it was that, it made it difficult to communicate. It was almost like having a website in a way, because you post your information, but it's not easy to communicate the information to the customers. They have to go to your page pretty much to find. Where Twitter, whoever wants to follow me or know what's going on here at the store, I can go on there and tweet, 100 characters or less, or 140, let them know what's going on, and then it's just simple dialogue to communicate the information I want to give them.
Now, Donnie was able to do something really powerful just by leveraging Twitter. Donnie with Housewine was able to increase his revenue by 25% or more. He was able to increase foot traffic by 75%. All of a sudden, Donnie, instead of having an empty wine shop in Worthington, every event he had was jam-packed. I recently asked Donnie if he could do a wine pour for me, and you know what he told me? Tiffany, we have so much business, I can never leave the shop. All because he leverages social media and builds relationships. So for business owners, one of the themes that I saw as I went through my survey process, one of the recurring themes was Facebook works, but Twitter works better. And the other thing, pick the network that really benefits your brand. And for Donnie, for a store that has incoming foot traffic like this, Twitter worked really well for him. Fast, word of mouth. And so there's a shift that we all sort of have to make. And one is that we need to adopt this social mindset. And as we think about making the shift for adopting the social mindset, we have to think more about the behaviors to avoid and some of the things we need to adopt. I won't get into all of these because I think we spent the whole day talking about sort of the social mindset, but I did write a report on it. Of course, you can find it on my website at talksocialnetworking.com. But interestingly, the biggest shift that we all have to make is this whole thing about building community and meeting our customers and consumers where they are. So it's going social smart. So I did this sort of interview with 25 to 30 small business owners, some of which are my clients and some of which are not, some of which I just met on the web. And I wanted to pick their brains a little bit. So I had 29 data points that we went through with them in over 15 different categories. And what I discovered is that there were some themes that I think could benefit all of us today. And also, if you start thinking about writing your social media strategy plan, these data points could be some of the main topical areas. So there were various industries, some solopreneurs, and some were actually small business owners with staff. And some were storefronts, some were virtual business owners. So various industries, various levels of experience leveraging social media, some from 1 year up to 4 years. And then also, the focus for most of them was on building, using social media just to build their business. And then we did a poll. And this poll really revealed that most business owners recognize they need a social media strategy and action plan, but they don't have one. And I thought that was really interesting. We used Facebook to do a poll. Lots of other data, but let's get into some of it. So here are the areas that we covered. And again, as I said, you can use some of these areas as sort of data points for your social media strategic plan. So mindset, experience, which networks am I going to use, market research, where am I going to get the, where am I going to find my target audience? Now, if you were in PR Tini's class, the last one, she gave us lots of tips. And of course, if you go to prtini.com, you'll get a lot of tips for where to find your target audience. But anyway, that was one of the topical areas. Which networks am I going to use? What are some of the desired outcomes? And then this last column over here, perception, value perception, results, proficiency with using, conversation monitoring. These are all some of the things we talked about and they gave insights on. So let's start with the conversation. What's the first thing that they told us? And I thought this was really interesting. The largest percent of the individuals we polled, 72% said their primary focus for being online and leveraging social media was to develop relationships. The next was to evangelize their brand, and credibility was at the bottom of the list, 27%. But what I thought was really interesting here, no one said that I'm using social media to make money or to increase sales. That wasn't really in this list at the top of things that they wanted to do. I think 5.5% said it was about money. So I think that tells us an interesting story about social media for the small business owner, the solopreneur. Our #1 focus, top of the list, should be building relationships. And I think we all agree on that. Now here's some mindset trends as we culled through the data, and we used, we just did some sentiment analysis to sort of get the main points. They said trust was at the top of the list of trends, mindset shifts that they made. Trust. They learned over the years that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and they have equal choices, and I have to develop connections with strangers who will be friends and potential customers. And I don't know, we asked them about their beliefs about social media and their mindset, and this is what our small business owners are saying. Network shapes behavior, so depending on which network I'm in, that will determine my behavior within that network. Here's one comment. I think it varies depending on which network or which social platform I'm on. For instance, LinkedIn is definitely skewed toward credibility, whereas Twitter is more about growing my community and Facebook is more about relationships. Resource sharing. A lot of, that was #3 on our list. And I thought that was interesting that small business owners are leveraging social media primarily to establish resources. Awareness was on the list. I want my brand out there. That's why I'm doing it. That's my mindset while I'm doing it. And the network shapes behavior. We talked about this in the business use. Most people are saying, I don't really care about coffee, but I'm definitely using this as a part of business building. And these are some of the mindset trends we noticed. So does mindset relate in any way to results? What do you guys think? Does mindset relate to results? Yeah, absolutely. Does it impact our behavior? Yeah. So if, for example, if my mindset was I want more sales, what are some of the things I'm going to be putting out there? Buy from me, read my this, come to my that, buy my this, read my that, come to my this and that. And of course, nobody really cares and nobody likes that kind of behavior. So how does behavior shape and impact results? Those are some of the questions that we asked as we move forward with this group of participants. We talked about motivation as a topical area, and here are the top 5 or 6 things that are motivating or goals that you can have for social networking. And these are, of course, measurable. So yes, boundaries, leads, staff. These are measurable things that if you were able to say, this is my #1 goal, we had one client, she says, Tiffany, my X amount of dollars would be worth it every month if I got 2 to 3 leads in the month. And we asked her, what was a lead? Did they necessarily have to convert to a sale? She said, no, these are individuals that I'm able to have a conversation with. They make a referral, maybe they invite me to speak. She was able to quantify exactly what a lead was for her. And so now her activity within her LinkedIn community is specifically targeted around developing joint venture partnerships. All of her strategies and her alerts coming in are for speaking opportunities. She's keeping an eye on those, and she's connecting with individuals that she believes can influence those decisions. Expanding my reach. And when we talked about boundaries, some of our business owners said, well, Tiffany, it would be great if I was able to expand not to just the Columbus market, but to California or another state. So they wanted to be known beyond their boundary. And of course, learn and have visibility, which I think is very similar to awareness. And of course, PR efforts. Average time using social media. I thought this was interesting. Not a lot of time. This is still new. And because it's still new for so many, there's still a need for individuals to understand how to use the tools. I'm going to skip ahead here to this one. How much time does your team spend social networking? Here, can I ask the audience, how much time do you spend per week using the social tools, or developing your strategy, or meeting with your team about what you're going to put out, you know, deciding what content you're going to share? How much time per week?
Probably 5 to 10. Yeah, 5 to 10.
So that's about right. That's about right. Are you getting results with the 5 to 10?
I'm going to be a little different. I'm kind of a solopreneur. I've never heard this term before, but I love it. I publish historical fiction.
Okay.
And so I'm all about trying to get my readers and trying to find my readers, and because of the social networking I'm doing, I think I'm more on the 10 to 12 range.
Okay.
But I am getting sales from it.
Excellent. So those of us who are below 10, I'd be interested to hear from the group in the next 30 to 60 days, if you bumped it up by 2 to 5 more hours per week, what that would mean for your leads and for conversion. I'd be interested just to see if we bumped up our activity just a little bit more in some of these targeted ways, if conversions change. Yes?
I think one of the most interesting things you've said so far, though, is that you've got to go into it with the mindset of knowing what it is you want.
Yes.
Otherwise, you can't tell whether or not you've been successful if you don't know what the goal is.
Yeah, you know, we develop strategy and action plans, and I won't do anything with the client unless they can qualify and quantify what that is. That's the #1 thing. And you know, I've spent several sessions with my clients helping them sort of think through what that is. And I found it very interesting. A lot of people don't really know. And it's hard for them to sort of boil it down into something that is measurable.
Yeah, they want to talk about awareness.
Yeah. What does that mean? And they need to be able to tell me what that is, because we can't link it to activity unless I understand what it is in your mind. So interesting. Average time social networking. General sentiment is that it takes time to realize your results. And I think you all agree, 5 to 10 hours is what we saw, right? Okay. Team, how many of you are doing it by yourself or have other people doing it, helping you? Solo? Solo?
do stuff for other people.
Okay, so you're on a team. You're on someone else's team. Okay, but the vast majority of small business owners or solopreneurs, the statistics tell us 88% of them are doing it by themselves. And that interestingly links back to a number when we start looking at how much they're spending and how much it's costing to get it done. 15% have a staff or a team. And what we're seeing is that the solopreneurs usually are doing it by themselves in small businesses. Anytime it's 1+ associates there, they're leveraging one of their team members to do it. And interestingly, they're having great success doing that. But we'll look at that a little bit later. So proficiency. How good are they with the networks? Of course, you won't be surprised to know the top 3 that everyone has experience with is Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But when we drilled down on those numbers later on in our survey, we learned something interesting. Other areas that could explode there or link back to one of their goals, which was build awareness, get my brand out there. Other things that they could be doing that's powerful, like blogging, like video marketing, podcasting, those things were low. Very low. And in our surveys later on, most of them say, when we ask them what wasn't working, you'll see they said video, blogging, podcasting. These are the things that they don't know that much about, but these are areas that you could tap into to gain greater visibility and awareness. Depends on, of course, what your goal is. We asked what were the number 1 and number 2 networks. Facebook was number 1, Twitter followed, LinkedIn followed. It's no surprise for the small business owner. And of course, we asked what were they having the most success with, and most of them said, ding, 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 Facebook. No surprise here. So what's going well for small business owners? What's working in this group? What's working well for you?
Fan pages.
Fan pages? Okay.
Event pages too. Event pages seem to be, and then being able to invite your fans and friends to the event. And I think that's what House Alliance has done quite a bit of.
Okay. So events and fan pages. Anybody else having any other success with their social networking? Yes.
Twitter. I helped a friend who was trying to promote his t-shirt brand, Arnold Classic Weekend. So I started reaching out to individuals who would be in town with the Arnold Sports Festival hashtag and started inviting them to the party. And that worked very, very well.
Oh, so Twitter. And you'll see those 2 things that you mentioned. What's your name?
Dan Stover.
Dan, what you mentioned, Twitter driving traffic, this is what our small business owners are experiencing across the board. So this is the place to hang out. Fan pages, as you mentioned. What's your name again?
Melissa.
Melissa. Melissa and Dan, you guys validated exactly what our other business owners are experiencing. I thought it was interesting. One business owner or respondent said that they are actually increasing their sales because of an app they added to Facebook, which is eBay selling. And I just thought I'd share that with you because they've increased sales using that particular add-on to their page. So what's not working? And this goes back to sort of what they're not using. They're not using their social networks with consistency, mostly because they either don't have a plan or they don't have enough staff helping them with this. And also, they also don't understand how to use the networks to their maximum capacity. So that learning curve. So an opportunity is, of course, if this is what small business owners are having problems with, I encourage you to increase your learning with some of the tools. This weekend, there were over 20 different workshops. So I commend you for, just expanding your knowledge base. Facebook, someone said it's not that fun. And I heard this sort of resonate throughout the survey process. They said it's not that much fun and I don't really trust it. Has anyone else experienced that? Perhaps that's isolated.
There's always the group of I don't trust it people. They're going to steal my identity.
The face crooks people. I have some friends on Facebook who are always, the majority of their posts are how not to get cheated by Facebook. Because they're just be posting this, and it's if you're halfway intelligent, you would figure out how not to do that anyway. So.
Okay. So it's interesting that, you know, the survey is validating, what you guys are saying is validating some of our survey results. Here's another interesting area we talked about, and that was analytics. How many of you are using analytics? Okay, about half the room. We asked that question and we got almost as many. 40% said yes, they're using analytics. And so then we asked them, well, what tools are you using to track and measure or to listen? And a lot of them, you know, what was the #1 tool they said? Google Analytics. Some said they were using Hootsuite, the analytics within a tool. So some people said they were using Facebook Insights. What are you guys using to add to the list? Google? Anyone else using anything other than Google for analytics, for their social networking?
YouTube has an analytics segment. I can't think what it's called right now, but it's you know, to analyze who's viewing your video and so forth.
Okay. So interesting, again, validating that within the social networks, really optimizing and leveraging the analytics can be powerful. With Dave Carroll, for example, you know, you can look at the statistics. How many times was it viewed? How many times was it shared and forwarded? Analytics can be very, very powerful. For example, within Hootsuite, it doesn't make sense to keep tweeting links that nobody clicks on or that isn't being reshared. How many of you will continue to put out the same kind of content and you don't know whether or not anybody cares or likes it? How many of us are doing that? Stop doing that. I want to encourage you. Let's take some of the takeaways away from our audience, from our polled group and from you in the room. Start looking at the analytics within the tools you're using and really find out what's hot with people. If you're using a dashboard to tweet, look at the analytics inside that dashboard. Go back to the links you've shared. If it's not been reshared, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to think about the time of day you shared it, and I want you to think about your audience. Perhaps that question about target audience hasn't been addressed properly with developing your community. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. Okay, so let's move on to the survey. So conversation monitoring. How many of you here in the room are using conversation monitoring tools? You know what people are saying about you online. You know what your competition is saying online. Okay, very good. 16% of our audience that we interviewed said they don't know. They're not using any conversation monitoring tools. Interestingly, the 36% that, the no's, there were some comments and they said, what are conversation monitoring tools? So a lot of our small business owners and our solopreneurs are out there social networking without a plan, and they're not really able to track and measure because of the analytics. And then on top of that, they are not listening. So they don't know what to talk about that's going to be effective with their community. Can you see how all of that connects together? I want you to think about that as well. Engagement, the top 5 things that come out of engagement. We talk about engagement. This is sort of the connection with your community. So I met Eileen today, right? So Eileen and I are connected and we continue to talk and engage. But maybe there are several of you here in the room I don't know so personally, right? So what can I do to get your interest and to engage, get you to engage? When we talk about engagement, are they gonna like, thumbs up, reshare, comment? What are they doing to demonstrate that they as a community are engaged? So our business owners say, I put quotes, and when I put quotes, everybody responds. How many of you have that experience? Another one, under number 2, under quotes, was questions. But interestingly, they added comments to this. We had to go through, read a lot of data. And what they said was not just random questions. They're strategically putting questions that they believe relate back to their business or what they do or their expertise. I thought that was interesting. How many of you are using questions that way? Okay. Girlfriendology, how do you use questions?
I shared an example this morning. I said on a Facebook update, girlfriends, what's your favorite chick flick?
Okay.
And I had more responses that day than I'd had on any other day previously, because they loved sharing their favorite movie or something they were passionate about. And so I tried to incorporate questions a lot in my Facebook updates. And on Twitter also, so I get responses.
Thank you. Opinions, recipes, and retweets. Now, interestingly, we went through and looked at the size of communities for some of our respondents. One of the individuals who had the largest community, she's a feng shui expert, travels all over the world helping people that are building these multi-million-dollar homes pick the land that they're going to build their house on. And guess what grows her community? Recipes. That's what people respond to. So she keeps doing what works. I think that's something that we ought to learn from. And of course, retweets. All right, market research. We asked, how many of you know about your target audience? Do you do research about it? Where do they hang out? And do you know any specific competitors? And our small business owners are savvy. They say, yep, we know all that. How many of you here know the answer to those 3 questions? Okay, great. Yeah, small business owners are savvy. Measuring results. So we asked small business owners, how do you measure results? And sort of before we look at this, how do you guys measure results? What do you use? Influence, awareness, or investment, hard dollars? What are you using to measure whether or not what you're doing makes sense for you?
Influence, probably.
Influence? Anyone else? Well, at the top of the list, of course, was awareness, followed by influence, and a 12% margin said investment, hard dollars. And that teaches us something about where we can focus our time and attention. And it goes back to something I said earlier. Small business owners aren't really concerned as much with the hard dollar conversion as much as they are with how much their brand is getting out and how much they're mobilizing others in their community. Desired results was a 50-50 split between leads and brand awareness. So what they said they were measuring wasn't hard dollars, but when they talked about desired results, they said leads. I thought that was interesting. They said they wanted awareness and they wanted influence. But then when we cooled it down a little bit further and asked more questions, they said, well, I really want leads and brand awareness. So that leads thing came out again. Not necessarily hard dollars, but the opportunity to get deeper with their customer. How much money are they spending? It's interesting, 43%, they're not spending anything. And they're getting results. And you'll see some of the commentary later. They're getting results. But I thought it was also interesting that a few, 37%, are spending between $250 and $900 a month. How many of you are spending $0 a month? How many have committed other resources in any dollar amount?
I think it's inappropriate for them to say they're not spending anything because they're assuming their time is worth nothing.
Okay. Okay.
I agree.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
You know, there's an application called Swix, S-W-I-X app, A-P-P. So swixapp.com. And it takes 2 measurements. One, time, how much do you value your time? Put a dollar amount on that. And how much hard dollars are you spending? You put those 2 pieces in, then it goes out to every network that you have, and it evaluates the size of that network and rate of growth and gives you a per dollar amount for every individual in that network. So how much is it costing you versus your rate of return? Swixapp.com helps us to measure both of those. So great call out.
So that's S-W-I-X?
X, yes, Swixapp.com. It used to be free in beta. It's not anymore. I think it's a low dollar amount, like $9 or something per month. Actual results. We asked the question, how many of you feel like you're getting results? And most were in the middle. 50% says we're getting there. We're not there yet. How many of you feel that way? Getting there, not there yet.
Is there any way to tie the notes back to the guys who are only using
I'm going to have to go back and dig through those and see what that looks like. Value perception. Now, I thought this was interesting. How many of them felt like they were getting value out of their effort? You know, how many of you think it's worth it? And that number still stayed almost split 50-50. 50% felt like, yeah, I'm getting some value. I'm going to keep at it. So, we looked at a little more closely some business owners. This is a solopreneur. And I thought it was interesting. We won't have time to go to her profile. But she says it's a great tool to make personal connections with people all over the world. And, you know, as a business owner, we may be thinking, I want to sell, I want to promote. But I thought it was interesting for her. She says, In this modern day, you got to connect with people, and it's a global playground, and so social media is a way for us to do that. And interestingly, she does have a strategic social media calendar of events, so she does have a plan of action for what she's doing. Here's another one, PR coach. You can find her at Pam Perry PR on the web, Pam Perry PR. Now this is someone you should model. So the other one we looked at, she does a virtual partner for success. She has a plan. Pam Perry PR is off the chart, leveraging all of those areas that we said most small business owners won't tap: blogging, video blogging, podcasting. And she's filling up her classrooms, getting paid speaking engagements. So I think this is someone to model. Here's some advice from Pam Perry. Be patient, don't abandon your efforts too early. But check her out, because as we started looking through her profiles, we thought, yeah, this is someone you should look at. Here's another solopreneur. AMP is an insurance company. They have a small community, but interestingly, she was the most enthusiastic respondent. And here's what some of the things that she said in her survey. She said that she was able to mobilize and get sales. Now, she's a small community, but obviously they're a very engaged community. Now, interestingly, she doesn't have social engagement on her site. Loves Twitter again, it's working for her. And she uses questions and focuses in on awareness. And that's working for her. She has a very limited social presence, but Twitter is working. So go where the people are for your niche community as a takeaway. Intuitive Concepts, we talked about them, 3,300 people, 3,300 people on their Facebook page, and yet she uses recipes. Interesting to me. I pulled her out because of that. She does have a plan, she does have a team, she spends money every month, and she does use analytics tools. She's doing all the things we want her to do, yet notice her comment. I still wonder if, as a business, I'm gonna reach my goals, and I'm still learning how to do all this. So what we learned from all of this survey and reading all this data and talking about it, here are some of the key takeaways that I hope will benefit you. Mindset trends, we talked about that, and I think you understand that clearly. Have a strategy is a big takeaway, and some of those strategic areas that we touched on in our survey can be data points for your plan. Clarify your goals and desired outcomes. They need to be tightly tied to your action and your activity. And think about committing 5 to 10 hours a week, and if that's not working presently, bump it up another 2 to 5 like our young lady in the audience here. Focus on ROI, influence and awareness versus investment of hard dollars. But by all means, get the Swix app and combine the two together and see what's really happening in your community. Listen, monitor, and measure. You'll have no idea if you're talking to the right people or if you're creating brand ambassadors if you obviously aren't listening to see what kind of feedback is happening and what your audience really wants to hear about. So, is going social smart? I believe it is. However, I think it's smarter to have a plan. And so I invite you all to listen in on a call that I'm hosting the end of the month, April 27th at 7 p.m., the 5 strategic pillars for social media community management. And I'm going to share 60 tips and tools that you can use, and you get to pick and choose which ones will become a part of your social media action plan. You can register, and I'll forward this link to you. It's conta.cc/5 social strategy pillars, or you can just go to my website, talksocialnetworking.com/events. And thank you all for joining me this afternoon. If you have any questions, I can take them at this time.